All right, let's dive deep into how to build a massive following online.
Yeah.
We all want to crack the code on how to not just get followers, but get people actually engaged, really build that community. And you send over a ton of notes from Brendan Kane's book, 1 Million Followers.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
So let's break it down. What are some of the key takeaways that stood out to you?
Well, I think the biggest thing is how he dismantles that myth that, follower count is everything.
Right.
Like you and I already know that, but it was interesting to see how much he emphasizes the quality over quantity.
Yeah, totally. It's like having 1 million people in a room, but they're all talking over each other. Nobody's listening.
Yeah.
You want those people who are leaning in, taking action, spreading the word. What does he say specifically about engagement? How's he defining it?
So he says it goes beyond just passive views.
Okay.
It's likes, comments, shares, actions that show real interest.
Got it.
Think of it as a conversation, not just a broadcast.
I like that. And speaking of conversations, the book has this fascinating story about Julius Bine, this magician who totally blew up his following by prioritizing shares over view count.
Right.
100,000 new followers a week? What was going on there?
I think it speaks to the power of shareability as a growth engine.
Yeah.
His content clearly had that wow factor, that made people want to show their friends. It tapped into those emotions that are really shareable, like surprise or amusement.
So it's not just about creating good content. It's about creating content that's inherently shareable by design. But then the book throws in this curveball, right? It says blindly following trends isn't the answer.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Yeah, Naveen Gowda, who's actually had billions of video views, talks about avoiding the trend trap.
Oh, okay.
He says you actually want to look for unique ideas even if they're off trend. Things that haven't been done to death.
Yeah. Interesting. So it's about finding that sweet spot between what's resonating right now, but also bringing something fresh. But how do we actually create this share-worthy, standout content? Any practical tips?
The book talks a lot about being service-oriented.
Okay.
It's about what you can offer to your audience, not what you want from them.
Yeah.
What problems can you solve? What insights can you share? What emotions can you evoke?
It's like shifting from a me focus to a you focus.
Exactly.
And the book talks about Prince Iya, the spoken word artist, who had this massive breakthrough when he adopted that mindset.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
2 billion views in 2 years.
Exactly. The power of connecting with people.
Okay, so we've got this high-level philosophy, but can we get down to brass tacks here? What are some concrete examples of share-worthy content? What does that actually look like?
There are a few good ones in the book.
Okay.
John Cena surprising his fans. That taps into our love of feel-good stories.
Makes sense.
Pedro de Flores' tacos video, relatable humor always works.
Love it.
And then there's Cristiano Ronaldo, disguised as a busker. Totally blowing people's minds.
Wait, Ronaldo was a buster? Really?
Yeah, it was completely unexpected.
Really?
Showed a different side of him. People loved it. It goes back to that element of surprise and creating something people haven't seen before.
I love that. Okay, so we've got our awesome shareable content, but how do we make sure it's reaching the right people? The internet is a crowded place.
It is. So targeting is crucial. And the book really emphasizes getting super specific.
Yeah.
Think about it like music. Back in the 70s, there were fewer genres, so most people listened to the same stuff.
Right.
But now, niche audiences everywhere.
Yeah, totally.
You really have to hone in on who you're trying to reach.
So it's not enough to just say, I'm targeting women 25 to 35.
Right.
We need to go deeper.
Yeah, what are their interests? What brands do they like? What are their pain points?
Okay.
You almost have to become obsessed with understanding your ideal audience.
That's where the data analytics come in?
Yes, exactly.
Like using those Facebook insights to see who's engaging with your content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book gives the example of David, at FabFitFun, using data in customer surveys to get a clear picture of his buyers.
Okay.
It's like conducting your own mini market research study.
That's so fascinating. I'm getting so many ideas. Okay, so we've got our great content. We know who we're targeting. Now what? Which platform do we focus on first?
The book makes a compelling case for Facebook, especially for rapid growth, because it's designed for sharing.
But isn't Facebook's algorithm always changing and making it harder to reach people organically?
True, but the sharing aspect can help you break through some of those limitations.
Okay.
The more your content gets shared, the more visibility it gets.
Right.
And the book has a specific strategy for this.
Oh, I'm all ears.
It involves using Facebook ads, Specifically what are called dark posts.
Dark posts.
They're basically ads that don't appear on your main page.
Wait, dark posts. I've heard that term, but never really understood it.
They're like test balloons.
Yeah.
You can experiment with different types of content and targeting without cluttering up your main feed.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's like a behind-the-scenes testing ground
Right.
before you go live with something.
Exactly. And he suggests, starting with Facebook ads, to build that initial following, figure out what resonates, and then use that momentum to expand to other platforms.
Exactly.
Okay, that's super strategic. I'm already feeling more confident about this whole social media thing. But what about thinking bigger? Beyond just one country or language, I know we have a lot more to cover, but can we get a sneak peek into this going global concept?
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting. Because the book reveals that some of the most exciting growth opportunities are actually happening outside of the U.S.
Really?
Yeah, and we'll dive into all the details in the next part of your deep dive.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Stay tuned.
Okay, we're back. And my mind is already blown by this whole going global thing.
Yeah.
I get that the world's a big place, but focusing beyond, my usual audience feels kind of daunting. So why should we even consider it? What's in it for me?
Well, I mean, for starters, it's about tapping into a much larger pool of potential followers.
The book points out there are over 7 billion people outside the U.S.
Wow.
That's a lot of potential fans or customers or, whatever it is you're building.
Okay, that makes sense mathematically. But isn't it more complicated than just posting in English and hoping for the best?
Sure.
Different languages, cultures, time zones. It feels like a recipe for disaster.
Well, there are definitely challenges, but
Right.
the book argues that the rewards can be huge.
Okay.
In a lot of emerging markets, the social media landscape isn't as saturated as it is here.
Right.
You actually have a chance to stand out and make a real impact.
It was like the early days of Facebook when it wasn't totally overrun with ads and everyone trying to sell you something.
Exactly. Plus, ad costs are often lower in those regions.
Okay.
And you know what else? Engagement rates can be through the roof.
More bang for your buck. I like it. Are there any specific markets that the book highlights as being particularly promising?
India is mentioned quite a bit.
Okay.
It has a massive and young population that's super digitally savvy. It's also a place where a lot of, smart people are investing. So there's a sense that it's on the verge of something big.
So it's like getting in on the ground floor of the next social media boom.
Well,
What about other markets?
Brazil was another one they highlight. Apparently, Brazilians are very active on social media, and they love to share content,
Oh, wow.
which, aligns perfectly with that shareability concept we were talking about.
Right. So if something goes viral in Brazil, there's a good chance it could spread to other markets as well.
Exactly.
Are there any other regions worth exploring?
They mention a few others: Indonesia, Mexico, even Poland and Turkey.
Wow.
It really depends on your niche and who you're trying to reach.
This is a lot to digest.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say I'm on board with this whole global thing. Where do I even begin? Do I need to learn a bunch of new languages?
Right.
Become an expert in international relations?
Well, luckily, you don't need to become a UN ambassador overnight.
Okay, good.
The book actually suggests a strategy we discussed earlier, which is using Facebook ads to test your content in lower-cost markets and then retargeting that same content to more expensive markets.
Oh, right. Like using those dark posts to figure out what resonates before going all in.
Exactly.
So I could start by building a following in a place like India.
Yeah.
And then once I have some momentum, I could target that content to audiences in the US or other countries.
You got it. It's a way to leverage those lower ad costs and higher engagement rates in emerging markets to help you break through in more competitive markets.
That's a brilliant strategy, but wouldn't I need to translate all my content into different languages? That seems incredibly time-consuming and expensive.
Well, it depends. If your content is visually driven, you might be able to get away with just subtitles.
Okay.
And as you start to gain traction in specific regions, you can always partner with local influencers or content creators to help you translate and adapt your message.
Okay. That feels much more manageable. I'm
Okay.
starting to see how this global thing could actually work.
Yeah, it's all about being resourceful and thinking outside the box.
Okay, we focused a lot on Facebook, but I know YouTube is also a global platform. What are your thoughts on tackling YouTube?
Yeah, the book has an entire chapter dedicated to YouTube strategies. It's important to understand that YouTube functions more like a search engine than a social network.
Oh, interesting.
So instead of focusing on shareability, it's more about optimizing for keywords and making sure your videos are showing up in search results.
Okay, so think like a search engine marketer.
Exactly.
What are people searching for on YouTube?
Right.
How can I create content that answers their questions or solves their problems?
That's it.
Got it. Any other YouTube-specific tips?
Yeah, the book highlights the importance of choosing a specific theme for your channel and sticking with it. Consistency is key.
Okay.
You want people to know what to expect from you and to become the go-to expert in your niche.
Right. Like if you love reviewing video games, don't randomly throw in a cooking tutorial.
Exactly.
Stick to what you know and what your audience expects.
Exactly. And don't forget about engagement. Even though YouTube is about searchability, people still want to feel connected.
Yeah.
The book suggests incorporating things like asking questions in your videos, telling personal stories, and even featuring your viewers in your content.
Okay, that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
about finding that balance between providing value and building community.
Exactly.
So we've talked about Facebook, YouTube going global. Is there anything else we absolutely need to know about building that massive following?
Well, we've covered a lot of tactical stuff, but there's one more powerful strategy that we need to unpack, and that's the power of strategic alliances.
Yes. Please tell me more.
It's all about tapping into existing audiences by partnering with individuals, brands, or organizations that already have the attention of the people you want to reach.
Okay.
Think back to the Shazam and AT&T example.
Right.
That partnership instantly gave Shazam access to a massive new user base.
And it wasn't just about the numbers, it was a strategic fit.
Yeah,
They were both in the music and tech space, so it made sense for their audiences.
exactly. Any other examples that stand out to you?
Well, the book highlights a really cool collaboration between Dua Lipa and Hyatt Hotels.
Oh,
They shot one of her music videos at a Hyatt property,
Right.
which gave the hotel some awesome exposure and also gave Dua Lipa's music a new platform.
it's a win-win.
It is. I'm starting to see how powerful this can be, but I'm also realizing that it takes some serious work to find the right partners and make these collaborations happen.
It does.
So can we dive deeper into that process?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we'll be exploring in the next part of your deep dive.
I can't wait. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back, and I'm ready to figure out these strategic alliances.
Yeah.
You've convinced me it's a great way to grow, but honestly, it feels kind of intimidating.
Sure.
Like, I'm not Dua Lipa.
Right.
So how do I even begin to find and land these partnerships?
Yeah. You don't need to be a pop star to make this work.
Okay.
And the book actually emphasizes that you don't need to aim for the biggest names right out of the gate. Sometimes partnering with smaller influencers or brands, especially when you're just starting out, can be more effective.
That's interesting. I always assumed bigger is always better. Why would smaller partners be a better choice sometimes?
Well, think about it. Smaller influencers often have more engaged audiences,
Right.
and they're usually more open to collaboration, especially if you can offer them something valuable.
I see. So it's about finding those hidden gems who are on the rise and looking to build those mutually beneficial relationships.
Yeah.
So how do we find these potential partners? Do I just start scrolling through Instagram hashtags?
You could, but the book recommends being more strategic.
Okay.
Start by really understanding your target audience.
Okay.
Then look for individuals or brands who already have that audience's attention.
So if I'm a fitness coach, I might look for health food bloggers or fitness apparel companies who are already speaking to the people I want to reach.
Exactly. You're tapping into an existing community instead of trying to build one from scratch.
Okay, that's smart. So once I've identified some potential partners, how do I approach them? Do I just slide into their DMs and say, hey, want to collab?
I mean, that might work sometimes,
Okay.
but the book really emphasizes the importance of being more thoughtful.
Yeah.
Think about what your potential partner needs.
Okay.
How can you provide value to them?
So it's not just about what I can get from the partnership, but what I can offer.
Yeah.
What would be some examples of offering value?
It could be creating content together,
Mhm.
cross-promoting each other's products,
Right.
or even just sharing each other's social media posts.
So finding those win-win situations where both parties benefit.
Exactly.
I'm starting to get it. And remember, building strong relationships takes time.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting what you can and then moving on.
Right. It's about cultivating genuine connections. Just like we talked about with building an audience, you can't just expect people to promote you if you're not willing to do the same for them.
Exactly. Now, the book also talks about tapping into super connectors to find potential partners. Have you ever heard that term?
Oh, yeah. Super connectors. It sounds like something out of a comic book.
They're basically people who have a knack for bringing others together.
Okay.
They're the ones who always seem to know everyone and are happy to make introductions.
Oh, I know a few people like that. They're like human networking hubs. But how do we find these magical super connectors?
They're often active in online communities or industry events.
Okay.
Look for people who are constantly connecting others and sharing valuable information.
So they're not just networking for themselves. They're genuinely trying to help others make connections.
Exactly. And building a relationship with a super connector can open doors to opportunities you never even knew existed.
That's incredible. It's like having a secret weapon in the social media game. So we've talked about finding partners, offering value. Is there anything else we need to keep in mind when approaching potential collaborators?
Yeah, the book talks about the importance of thinking about the headline your partnership will create.
The headline, like a news headline.
Yeah. It's about thinking about how the partnership will be perceived by the public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will it make a splash? Will it generate buzz? Does it tell a compelling story?
Oh, I see. It's not just about the practical benefits of the partnership, but also about the PR value.
Right.
A great collaboration should create a story that people want to share.
Exactly. It should be something that elevates both brands or individuals.
Right.
And makes people excited about what you're doing together.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we're brainstorming potential partnerships, think about the narrative you're creating. What's the story you want to tell?
Exactly.
This is so helpful. I'm feeling way more strategic about this whole alliance thing now. Okay, before we wrap up, can we touch on engagement groups?
Sure.
We briefly mentioned them earlier, but I'm still not entirely sure how they work.
Yeah, engagement groups are essentially groups of people who agree to support each other's content.
Okay.
By liking, commenting, sharing.
So like a mutual admiration society for social media, is that even ethical?
There are definitely ethical considerations,
Yeah.
so you need to be careful. You want to make sure you're part of groups that are focused on genuine engagement, not just boosting numbers.
Right.
It's about finding people who are truly interested in your content and whose content you're also interested in.
That makes sense. It's
Yeah.
about building community and supporting each other, not just gaming the algorithm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, engagement groups are just one small piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
They can be a helpful tool, but you still need to create amazing content, have a solid strategy, and build those genuine connections.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've covered so much. From the power of shareability to the importance of going global, from mastering different platforms to forging strategic alliances, I'm feeling inspired and ready to take action. But before we wrap things up, what's the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's just starting out on this journey of building a massive engaged following?
I would say focus on providing genuine value to your audience.
Okay.
Don't get caught up in chasing numbers or trying to be someone you're not.
Yeah.
Be authentic, be helpful, and be consistent.
I love that. And remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Building a thriving online community takes time, effort, and a whole lot of heart.
That's the beauty of it. If you're passionate about what you're doing and you're truly committed to connecting with people, the followers and the engagement will follow.
So well said. Thank you so much for sharing all of this incredible insight with me and with our listener. I'm feeling energized and ready to put all of this into practice.
It's been a pleasure. Remember, you have a unique voice and a valuable perspective to share with the world. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and see what happens.
That's it for this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive and that you're leaving feeling inspired and empowered to build your own thriving online community. Until next time, keep learning, keep creating, and keep connecting.